This fourth grade painting lesson is going to be about creating unity by using analogous colors. Take a look at our goals and scales. I like to start with level 3 because that's what you should be able to do by the end of this lesson. I can use analogous colors to create unity, and I can organize objects effectively in space. Level 2 says I can name analogous colors. I can define what it means to be analogous. I can emphasize analogous colors in my painting. I can demonstrate mixing and blending colors with paint. I can control the watercolor paint to create neat edges. In this lesson, we will be painting a path in the woods. We will practice using perspective, using analogous colors, showing depth, using shadow, showing texture, and adding details for interest. Take a look at the path going through the woods. Notice how it starts out wide and seems to be getting narrower as it gets farther away. We're going to create that effect on our path to help build a feeling of distance. That's how we use perspective. I mentioned analogous colors earlier. Analogous colors are the colors that are next to each other on a color wheel. So if you take a look at this color wheel, you could say that the two colors that are next to each other are analogous. You even could go as far as 3 colors on the color wheel. So yellow, orange, and red are analogous colors. Take a look at all the other sets of analogous colors. If you're looking at 3 colors to be analogous, there's actually 6 correct answers. Can you figure out which answer I did not include in my example? Pause the video now and see if you can figure out which is the analogous set that I did not include in my example. If you figured out that the missing set of analogous colors was purple, red, and orange, then you are correct. Good job. We will be using watercolor paint today, and you will choose 3 analogous colors for the foreground and 3 different analogous colors for the background. Today you will just be doing the top half of the assignment. Create a landscape that includes a path through the woods. Use 3 analogous colors to paint the background. Use 3 different analogous colors to paint the foreground. Remember, analogous colors are near each other on a color wheel. Here is an example. Draw a horizontal line to represent the land. Below that line, you're going to make a curvy path. Notice the path is very thin at the top where it reaches the horizon line, and it's rather wide at the bottom where it touches the edge of the paper. This is called perspective. It makes it appear that there's depth on the paper, and from where we're standing, it looks like the trail gets farther and farther away. You are now ready to start painting. You need to select 3 analogous colors for your grass, or the foreground, and 3 analogous colors for your sky, or the background. And I'm going to pick yellow, green, and blue for my grass, and red, orange, and yellow for a sunset sky. Since watercolor paints are very dry and hard, I like to start by wetting each one with a drop of water. I'm going to paint in the grass on either side of my path with green and blue and yellow, and I'm letting them blend and mix together with the water, but I still like to see a little bit of green, blue, and yellow separated also. It looks like an interesting shadow on the ground. You can see from that wet spot starting on the side of my page that I had a bit of an accident with the water. That happens sometimes to students, so I'll just leave it in and show you how you continue painting on top of the wet water paper, but don't scrub too hard because I don't want it to rip. So just paint gently, tapping it and mixing the 3 analogous colors. Make sure they're the same colors you chose for the grass on the other side of the road. There'd be no reason to change the colors here. Feel free to paint in your road now. Your little dirt path might be brown. I'm going to try to add a little bit of texture to it by tapping black small dots all over the surface of it to look like little rocks or shadows in the dirt. Next, we'll paint the sky. I'm going to make mine a warm sunset sky. so I'm picking my red, orange, and yellow and filling the sky with those 3 analogous colors. Because the next step is to paint brown trees on top of our paint, we do need to wait for the base painting to dry. So this would be a good stopping point for today, and we'll come back next week to add trees and branches, leaves, and details. Welcome back to part 2. We're going to be painting trees and adding shadows. Today we'll be doing the bottom half of the assignment review. Add vertical brown paint lines that represent the trees. You're also going to show depth through placement and size of trees. You'll add branches with thinner brown lines and add shadows and more details to achieve unity. Unity is when everything looks like it goes together beautifully. Now that the base layer is dry, you can add trees in the woods. Begin with a thick vertical line in the foreground. Next, add more lines for more trees. Thinner trees will be higher on the page to represent farther away. When you're using watercolor paints, they often look see-through. So if you want them to be solid and opaque, you need to put several layers of brown paint on top of itself so you can't see through the brown. Because I'm trying to create distance, I'm going to make my trees in the foreground seem thicker and the trees far away seem very thin. Now add branches to the trees. Use the space effectively. Vary the size and placement as well as the type of line. Your trees should be so tall they go to the top of the page. Let your branches go right off the edge of the paper. To make your painting unique, some of you may want to add leaves and other details to your painting. I'm going to just put a few leaves on my trees so I can still see through my trees and my beautiful sunset sky. I'm just putting little green dots along the branches. I'm going to make a dark shadow on the left-hand side of each of my trees. So that means my sun must be coming from the right-hand side. Every tree needs a shadow on the same left-hand side. And then I'll make a little black bunny here. You can make an animal or a person walking on the path or a bench. Be creative, be unique. Next, you're going to add shadows to every tree. Start by mixing a watery, transparent color to add the shadows. I like to use the lid of my watercolor paints. I put a little bit of black paint down and then add a bunch of water to it to make it transparent like a light gray. Shadows always begin at the base of the tree and they should be no thicker than the actual tree. Finally, complete your picture with your own details. That's what makes yours unique. You can add shadows going up and down the sides of the trees, shadows on the path, little animals in the grass, or leaves all over the tree branches. Let's see how you decide to do yours.